Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and we have storms going on in my part of the world, and it is not supposed to have possibly some tornado weather coming across this part of the world. Let's get this thing started. I just realized I did not follow the CME group, which owns a portion of Ripple, but now I do. XRP Crypto Wolf, $75 billion hedge fund. Renaissance Technologies, which is one of the largest hedge funds in the world, has opened the door to investing in Bitcoin futures. The top hedge funds, well-known medallion funds, will be able to buy Bitcoin futures on the CME group. That's adoption, folks, so I show it. Now, Jonathan D. sent me this. This is from one of the people in the office of the Prime Minister of India, and he also copies this tweet to the Prime Minister of India. And I want to show you this to illustrate a point that something that I've learned in being in digital assets and crypto over the last couple of years. He says, embracing digital payments is a prime example of adaptability. Shop owners, big and small, should invest in digital tools that keep commerce connected, especially in times of crisis. India is already witnessing an encouraging surge in digital transactions. I want to make 2 points here, folks. The first is that notice all around you as we go through this current event, this current situation that we're going through. I'm talking about left and right. All we're hearing about is how we need to switch to digital assets, whether it's the United States. We're seeing China come out with theirs. People are talking about cashless and all of this and how there can be germs on cash. You name it. Isn't that all a coincidence, folks? But we are seeing it left and right. But the other point I want to make here is here you have India. And ever since I got in this space, back in 2013, we've heard from India, China, Russia. All we've heard about is about how they're going to ban cryptocurrencies. I'm talking about left and right. Ban. That's all we've heard. It was all to try to scare us out of this space, folks. So now these guys are the very people that are talking about how we should all embrace this. But this is what they were saying for the last few years. These were the kinds of articles that we saw, especially in 2018. India's government drafts cryptocurrency ban. And then we saw things like this. People's Bank of China official calls for wider ban on Chinese crypto trading report. I mean, this is the kind of garbage that they were trying to scare us with, article after article after article. But it illustrates the point. Don't pay any attention to what these powerful people say. That's not what's important. You pay attention to what they do, and more importantly, where they put their money. That is how you find out what the truth is. All right. Now, I got this next thing from CeeLo23. Made me aware of this little series of tweets. Let me hit a refresh on that. Looks like this has got a little bit of traction here. This is Judy Shelton, who's one of the people that Trump's got up for the Fed to be possibly be nominated as someone at the Fed. Judy Shelton. Well, she had tweeted something yesterday, and this person made me aware of her likes. Someone had replied to her XRP, the standard, and she had liked the tweet, and it was a graphic of XRP. And Judy Shelton has been talking about gold, and she's brought up crypto in videos we've shown on this channel before. But I thought it was pretty interesting that she's liking something that's pointing out XRP, the standard. Pretty interesting. Okay, so Michelle Vandenberg sent me this. XRP was added as the first settlement mechanism to Corda settler in December 2018. How many have been added since? I thought this was a pretty good point. And for those of you that aren't aware, R3 created Corda settler, and they said at the time that XRP was the first digital asset to operate on the platform. And so, and many of you may not have been aware of that. So I'll show you a quick video about that. It's just a short video, but this tweet is correct. My understanding is that nothing has, now they will add some, but still XRP is the only one that has been added. Watch this video. It's real short.
Okay,
video.
hello and welcome to the demonstration of Corda Settler, the open source Corda app built to help Corda users settle transactions on any rail. Transactions usually refer to an exchange of one asset for another. One leg of the transaction creates an obligation to complete the other leg. Corda Settler allows users to complete that second leg on any system, whether that's a non-blockchain rail, a cryptocurrency system, or on Corda directly. If the second leg is not on Corda, it just needs to provide two integration points, one for users to initiate payments and another to confirm payment status. The following animation will show a network of participants using Corda Settler. Company A and Company B are the counterparties. They are using a notary service on Corda, and they both have access to nodes in other payment systems. For this demo, XRP is the chosen payments rail. This animation will be available as a click-through on r3.com. From a transaction on Corda, Company B has an obligation to pay Company A $100. As the beneficiary, Company A can choose the currency in which they'd like to be paid. In this case, Company A chooses XRP. To update the obligation, Company A will get the current exchange rate from an exchange rate oracle, and then update the obligation with the new currency and amount. Having made these changes, Company A obtains a signature from the notary service and distributes the obligation to Company B. Corda Settler also allows users to add additional terms, such as the desired payment address on the XRP network. Company A updates the obligation again and distributes it. Company B is now ready to settle this obligation, and so initiates a transaction from their XRP node. This obligation can be settled in one or many transactions. Company B gets a payment submission confirmation from the XRP network, updates the obligation with the transaction hash, and sends it to Company A and the settlement oracle. Now the settlement oracle knows which transaction reference to query for completion. The settlement oracle queries the XRP network for the status of transactions with the specified transaction ID. When Company B's payment has been confirmed, the settlement oracle marks the obligation settled, obtains a notary signature, and distributes the updated obligation to Company A and Company B. The obligation is now settled, and the counterparties have completed the second leg of their transaction. This has shown an important link between assets and applications on Corda and other settlement systems. We're excited to enable additional settlement rails over the next few months. Thanks for watching.
Well, they didn't add any more digital asset settlement rails over the next few months. But anyway, that video never really gets old, so I wanted to show that to you. Now, over the last few videos, I've been talking about BNY Mellon and BlackRock and how they tie into what Ripple is doing and things like this. I wanted to hammer this point home a little bit more today. And this is something many of you may not remember. This is April 29th, 2019. I'm going to show you soon in this video something else that happened in April of 2019 as well. And I'm not saying it necessarily ties together, but as we've seen in this space, everything is connected is what I've observed. Okay, so here we have Bakkt acquires crypto custodian. We talked about this when it happened. Partners with BNY Mellon on key storage. So Bakkt had acquired this DACC for digital asset storage solution. I think it was called the Digital Asset right here, Digital Asset Custody Company. But in the same article, they mentioned that Bakkt had also gotten with BNY Mellon, and it says right here, to further aid its storage solutions, Bakkt has been working with global bank BNY Mellon to set up geographically distributed private key storage, White wrote. BNY Mellon has a long history of storing institutional clients' assets, including hedge funds, asset managers, and broker-dealers, he said. The exchange also has also secured insurance for funds stored offline. All right. Well, so the reason I show you this is because, so now we know that BNY Mellon is working with Bakkt. And it's confirmed here. This is Back's frequently asked questions. It says, are any banks involved with safekeeping process, the safekeeping process? Yes, BACT is working closely with BNY Mellon to offer geographically distributed storage of private keys secured by the bank. BNY Mellon has a long-standing history of safeguarding assets of institutional clients such as hedge funds, asset managers, and broker-dealers. So this brings us, of course, to PolySun, which we've been talking about recently. PolySun, we've known that it had Tim Keeney on as one of their, I guess, board members from BNY Mellon. And then I showed you a document, the Articles of Organization for PolySun, that also included another guy, I think his name was Maglieri or something like that, who was also a BNY Mellon guy. So now you could easily see how PolySun could be involved on the back end with custody of even BACT, is what my point is. I believe PolySun is going to have their hands in a lot of this. But BNY Mellon, it has direct links, not just to Ripple, but to BACT and to PolySun. Okay, so I wanted to hammer that home. Now, let's look. I saw this tweet as well. This was from that article, and then this guy had replied, yes, because they will host other assets. That's why BACT works with BNY Mellon. And this is a document where they're quoting the Chief Information Officer from BNY Mellon's Treasury Services, talking about emergence of fintech. And in the document, it's called Reinventing Payments in an Era of Modernization. And they're showing it is estimated that about 1,500 fintechs are pursuing a foothold in payments, and they've got Ripple in the actual document. So that's kind of the thought pattern. You think BACT's going to just open up and it's only going to be Bitcoin? Think again, folks. And then there was this. Damur Sahami said, if you've forgotten about the enormity of Hyperledger, forget about your VeChain. And I'm not trying to bash VeChain here, by the way. I think VeChain's a good project. It says Hyperledger together with Ripple, XRP, and R3 are going to eat the whole market. He's got a document here from Hyperledger, and then of course it shows BNY Mellon right here in the game. A global team of developers from Hyperledger, members Swift, and BNP Paribas, BNY Mellon, and Wells Fargo create a cross-border proof of concept built with Hyperledger Fabric, which we've talked about as well on this channel. And then he replies here and he says, BNY Mellon Ripple Connection Faster Payments Task Force. So then he's got this document. BNY, we know that Ripple was on the Faster Payments Task Force. And then this is a letter from BNY Mellon to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. The BNY Mellon Corporation welcomes the opportunity to respond to the request for comment from the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System on potential Federal Reserve actions to support interbank settlement of faster payments. And anyway, the point is, and they say here, a liquidity management tool that would operate on a 24/7 by 365 basis to support services for real-time interbank settlement of faster payments. A liquidity service, whether those services are provided by the private sector or the reserve banks. So BNY Mellon has been in the game from day one. Now, let's shift gears to BlackRock. We always love to talk about BlackRock on this channel. I've talked about both of the people I'm going to show you before, but I don't think both at the same time. I wanted to illustrate or show you how BlackRock and Ripple, apparently something is going on there. I mean, I've shown you several things that are going on, but there's a lot more, I believe, than meets the eye. So you've got Vijay Chetty, and we've talked about him before. This guy leaves BlackRock in 2015 and goes to Ripple. So he's an investment associate at BlackRock. Now remember, BlackRock, you're talking about, you have arrived in finance. When you have a job at BlackRock, that's the top of the stack, folks. That's the top of the pyramid. This guy, just like for Miguel Valles, the top of the pyramid in his industry was to head the gold trading desk at the CME Group. Both of these guys left to go where? To Ripple. So this guy leaves BlackRock and goes to this startup in San Francisco called Ripple. You think this guy had to know, as a BlackRock investment associate, that XRP could be under this scary veil of it could be called a security? Did this guy worry about that when he left and went to Ripple, where they're selling this XRP thing that could be called a security? No, he didn't worry about it. He went anyway. And he left probably the largest company, most important company in finance, to go to a startup in San Francisco. Go figure. So then we've got this, and then this is from Leonidas. This is back in on April 3rd of 2019. Remember, we were talking about April 2019. That was the same time that Bakkt article was covering the fact that BNY Mellon was partnering with Bakkt. Meanwhile, in April of 2019, BlackRock, the largest asset manager worldwide with $6 trillion under management, will undergo a massive management overhaul, reorganizing to focus on alternative investments. It recently hired former Ripple product marketer Robbie Mitchnick. Now, they're saying that they want to get into these alternative investments. In fact, what BlackRock calls it is their digital, I think it's called their digital wealth team. Yeah, I think there's going to be some digital wealth. But anyway, so they hire Robbie Mitchnick, which we've talked about. But Robbie Mitchnick is not just anyone. He's the one guy who, along with Susan Athey, puts together the fundamental valuation framework for crypto assets. Now, this was back in 2018 when he put this together with her. And at that time, they arrived at a value for XRP of between $1.59 and $8.23. Why would BlackRock hire this exact person to be on their digital wealth team? This is a guy who believed that in 2018, XRP was worth that. Now, think about everything that's been done with Ripple since then. So what's the value? What's it really worth? And remember, we're not getting real price discovery, folks. We know that because SBI is not even being factored in, and Lord knows what else is not being factored in. But we know we're not getting real price discovery. So why did BlackRock want this guy of all people? So here he is at BlackRock. We've shown this before. I'm not going to show it again, but he's being interviewed by another girl that's over there. Look, they're calling it Aladdin Wealth Tech. That's their platform. It's called Aladdin. Now, every time that BlackRock comes up, I can't talk about BlackRock without showing you this little clip that always freaks me out from Jim Rickards.
Permanently. And hundreds of millions of Americans will be cut off from their own money for months or even years. Now, this sounds like the biggest confiscation of wealth in history. There's no doubt. So, Jim, let me ask you, could you please share with our viewers where this threat is coming from and how to prepare?
Let's start with some background and context, because I know this must sound hard for some viewers to believe. I was having dinner with a friend not long ago in New York City. We met at a place called Oriole, which is in Midtown. My dinner companion that night was a senior advisor to BlackRock. As you may know, BlackRock is now the largest asset manager on the planet. It directly manages $5 trillion in assets, and it oversees another $11 trillion through its Aladdin platform. That means one firm controls more money than the GDPs of China, Russia, and Japan combined. Anyway, my dinner companion happens to work directly for BlackRock's CEO. As we nursed our white wine and the evening wore on, she let something slip. If I remember her words, she said something like, "They want to tell us we can't sell." What was she talking about? Who was she talking about? I placed a few calls, first to my contacts in Washington, then to a few people on Wall Street. Soon I was on a plane for a series of meetings to London, to Geneva, back to New York, then down to South America. As I began connecting the dots, a pattern emerged. It revealed a network of more than 189 individuals positioned inside the world's major financial institutions. Some of them hold senior positions inside the IMF, World Bank, and every central bank in the G20, including our own Federal Reserve. These elites share one vision, and they're about to make it a reality. That vision is one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. They've worked for years behind the scenes preparing to realize that vision. They've literally rigged the laws of international finance. Everything is basically in place right now, and there's essentially no way to stop this from happening. When the crisis hits, they'll flip the switch, freezing the global financial system. That will give them time to reset the world economy according to their vision. As the coming crisis unfolds, President Trump will be powerless to stop it. In fact, trying to stop them would probably weaken the president's power altogether.
That is amazing, Jim, really. So what did these elites want from your contact at BlackRock?
Basically, they want to classify BlackRock as too big to fail. The technical term is Systemically Important Financial Institution, or SIFI. That designation normally applies to banks, such as Bank of America. If your bank gets the SIFI label, it means the government will bail you out first in a crisis. But it also means you must turn over control of your bank until the crisis subsides. In this case, they're trying to reclassify BlackRock, an asset manager, as too big to fail. If they succeed, they'll be able to freeze BlackRock when the crisis hits. BlackRock clients won't be able to sell. They won't be able to buy either. Their accounts will go dark indefinitely, and the elite operatives will take control of BlackRock's assets remotely via the internet. But our research shows that their ICE 9 plan goes much, much deeper than that.
Now, you refer to their plan as ICE 9. You just said that. What does that mean?
Okay, so I just always show you that because anytime BlackRock comes up, it just, that to me, that was one of the more bizarre things that I've ever heard having to do with BlackRock. I'm not telling you that there's some evil whatever going on. I'm just saying that clip that just sticks in my mind. Now, here's something else that sticks in my mind. I've been on Twitter and on YouTube for quite a while. I guess almost 2 years now. And there's one thing that I've noticed. There have been several people come and go on Twitter. Now, but one pattern that I've noticed is the ones that were two things, the ones that disappeared and the ones that were anonymous seemed to know the most. And looking back on it, and back, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I didn't even think that what some of them said could be even true. I thought it sounded far-fetched, some of it, not all of it, but far-fetched, that is. So now that I'm here in 2020, I'm looking back, I'm remembering what some of these people said, and I've tried to go back and look. And to a man, the ones that disappeared, the ones that seemed to know something, are the ones that are no longer. But not only that, they didn't just stop tweeting. They started to disappear. Here's one, and here's another one. This was Rachel Lee, this was Tony Valentino, and this is XRP Trump. Now, there's another that disappeared, and that is Hodor. Hodor did a blog. Nobody ever saw this guy. Now, he was very smart, very, very well thought out. But he tweeted this is back from 2018. Ripple is, and I'll read the whole thing in context. In fact, I'm not going to read it here. I'm going to read you a clip from his blog. But this is from 2018. It says, "How will the world view Ripple? Just so you're mentally and emotionally prepared for it, the price won't stop at $17. It will keep going past this artificial construct that makes people uncomfortable. While most crypto analysts have given maximum price points of XRP at somewhere between $5 and $50, there are some very insightful analysts who place their upper estimates at well over $100. Those XRP prices, while perhaps seeming steep to some onlookers, would put Ripple at about the same size as some of the historical trading company monopolies. The world does not like monopolies. While the world doesn't like monopolies, keep in mind that Ripple is not a pure monopoly. While they may own 60% of the world's XRP, the other 40% is owned by you and me, and anybody else that can open an account on Bitstamp or Coinbase. Even if Ripple were to disappear tomorrow, we'd still have enough XRP to fuel international commerce for many years to come. Each one can be split into 1 million units, lest you forget. Regardless of whether or not it has a monopoly, many people might be uncomfortable with a company whose valuation is measured in trillions. Don't worry, Ripple is quite cognizant of possible market capitalization numbers, along with the public relations challenges that will go with it. If you ask me, they are a company built by mostly engineers and Silicon Valley pioneers. These people know how to do the math, and they've seen how disruptive massive companies can transform the world in unexpected ways. Think Facebook and Twitter. Their plan is not to just sit on their XRP and watch as their valuation skyrockets past the valuation of the East India Company. Well, my question is, how does he know? How did Hodor know that their plan is not to just sit on their XRP and watch as the valuation skyrockets past the valuation of the East India Company? Brad Combs has given you the pre-allocation theory, and I believe it too. I don't believe that Ripple has any intention, and I don't believe they ever did. I believe they always knew that they could not sit on that XRP and own that XRP because they know that people don't, that government, especially the United States, do not like monopolies. They're not going to allow Ripple to have a valuation that makes them as valuable as a country. It's not going to happen. That's why we talk about this pre-allocation theory. It just makes sense. Now, Hodor goes on in this blog. Escrow, the purpose of XRP is to fuel economic commerce across borders. The escrow arrangement ensures that 1 billion XRP are freed each month for Ripple to sell to others, including banks and financial institutions, as well as other large international corporations. My prediction is that while Ripple may not anticipate selling or otherwise using all 1 billion XRP that is freed up each month, that will change quickly in 2018 as demand from XRapid use starts to accelerate. Remember, XRP's core purpose is to replace Nostro account holdings in various corridors throughout the world. This means that companies will be knocking on Ripple's door as the year progresses. Be prepared for stranger things. The world was first introduced to cryptocurrency in 2008 with the creation of Bitcoin. Since then, it's been slowly getting accustomed to the idea of international currency that treats the borders of countries as an insubstantial piece of metadata that has nothing to do with its own existence. And now we have XRP. Tell you what, folks, you can't make this up. And back to the point I was making, disappeared. Oscar Wilde said, man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell you the truth. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that some of the smarter voices in the XRP community are gone, disappeared, and they all just happen to be anonymous. Thank you for listening.